Beautiful day, my friends. In honor of Christopher Columbus Day coming back and being such a wonderful story that we all learned in school, we're going to look at some old maps and see if we can't find a little bit of gaps in the story that they give us and expose maybe, a few, just discrepancies in the information that they give us. This does not show us what the truth is, but it does expose the lie that they are giving us. So this is a map of a modern day. I'm going to explain how maps work really quick so that we can look at old ones and see if the story makes sense. This is a modern day map. Greenwich Village in England is the meridian line, which goes up and down, which is the longitude, and going at the equator, going from east to west, is the latitude. We've got the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. Great map right here showing that. There. And if we wanted to use GPS and use our grid points on a map, it's very easy to, let's say if we wanted to find 22 degrees north by 296 degrees west longitude, it'd be very easy to find. And that's how we use all of our cars, boats, airplanes, maybe even rockets if that's the case, on where we are on a map. Okay, so let's take our modern day map right here, and if we wanted to go to 0 degrees by 0 degrees, we would go right here where this X is. That's the meridian line and the equator. 0, 0. There is a little island right there, coincidentally, and they've named it null. Hey, 0, 0, null, nothing. Okay, so that's how that works. Now let's go look at some older maps. This is, again, the old map here. This map, it was made in 1617. This is a very famous map. It is in the British Museum as an original map. This was all hand-drawn. The reason we've got it now is because we have printing presses and photocopy machines. But when this map was first made, it was all done by hand, one at a time. Absolutely gorgeous, incredible artwork, to say the least, let alone a map. Now here we can see that we have the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere divided right smack dab in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It is also divided on the other side by the Pacific Ocean, right down the middle of the ocean on both sides of the Pacific. Very convenient. Now on this map, which was different than the other map, is that the meridian line here, 0, we've got 360 right there, 350, 340, going east, here's 10, 20, 30. You go all the way around, it comes back to 360. That is the meridian line. Now the latitude line here is still the equator. So 0, 0 on this map is right here, not where I showed you over here where Null Island is. Okay? Again, this map is in 1617. There we go, official history. Here we go on this next map right here. This map was made in, where's the date on this one? There it is, 1644. And it is written in Latin, okay? And we can see that there is the equator right here, and the grid coordinates that I gave you was 22 degrees north by 296 west. Why I picked that is because here is our equator. And if we go over here and we go up 22 degrees, which is right here, just below the equator on this line right here, goes right here, and 296 degrees west, our meridian line is over here onto the east, in the middle of the Atlantic. We would go, there's the 315, 310, 305, 300, and there's our line, excuse me, right here, which lines up to 296 degrees west of the meridian line. And that happens to be right where this X is, where they meet, right here. Actually, it was this line underneath the equator, right in the middle of Cuba, okay? We're looking at another map here. This map was made in 1590, about, let's say 100 years after Columbus discovered America. From here, England, he sailed down and then headed west and ended up the first time in the Indies, went back, got more money, another ship, tried it again, and ended up more north in the Florida, in the this area here, which now I'm thinking about, I don't even know if he really actually stepped foot on the mainland. That was other explorers. But anyways, we're talking about Columbus, but we're actually talking about maps. Now on this map here, I wanted to show you because here is our zero line of the equator, and here is our zero line of the meridian line, just like the other map with the two worlds on it, divided right smack dab in the Atlantic Ocean, not over here in England, right? You can see where it's different. So we have the western and the eastern hemispheres. Again, the Pacific Ocean divides it on both sides of the map. Okay, and so when Christopher Columbus sailed over to America, it was impossible for him or any sailor in that time and era to know which longitude they were at. They could always know what latitude they were at going up and down by using a sextant at noon, looking at the sun, making mathematical equations, and they could always know which way they are this way. At night, they could look at the stars and know which way was north, south, east, and west, but they had no way of knowing where they were on this going up and down on the map. If you were in the desert, you could by using a clock, but on a ship, there was no clock that they could work on a ship without messing up time, because they only had, like, say, the old grandfather clocks. You know how they had the pulleys, and you'd have to pull down the weight system, and then the gears would click, 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 and then every day you'd have to pull it back down. Well, on a ship, because the ship rocked so much, they were unable to keep track of time. They were able to guesstimate where they were at, but they were never positive where they were up and down on the longitude on a map. Now, why do I say it was physically impossible for them to know that? Well, because the maritime chronometer wasn't invented until 1761. That was the first time they had a clock that was in a container that was working with gears, and then they put it on a ship, and when it rocked around like a gyro, the clock stayed still, and they were able to keep time absolutely the whole time. So if that was the case, why would they have the longitude of zero in the middle of the ocean, where it would be absolutely impossible for anyone to know where that line was in this time and era before 1761? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I hope that came across in a way that makes sense. My time is up. Have a great day.